Hey folks, welcome to episode 4 of Forever. Today's episode is going to be the last episode related to GDC on the channel. This one is recapping days 4 and 5 of GDC. Again, when I finished the third episode, I realized there probably wasn't going to be a whole massive amount of content on day 4, and I was right, but I got to a lot of cool stuff on day 5. So let's jump right into it. Day 4, first thing I did was I played CoatSync's new game, Shadow Point, which is coming to the Oculus Quest and the Rift and Rift S. This game stars Sir Patrick Stewart as a narrator, kind of a voice in your head, if you will. You play as the player character Alex, and you're exploring Shadow Point Observatory. And Shadow Point Observatory, well, there's a lot of shadows and a lot of light and a lot of mirrors. And you have to use those shadows and light and mirrors in inventive ways to solve puzzles. I played the first level, essentially, of the game, and it left me really, really wanting more. I sent a message to some of my friends and said, look, I need this game and a quest right now because I want to finish this game. I want to consume all that it has to offer, and I want to do it right now. So ASAP, as soon as the quest comes out, this is one of the first games I'm absolutely going to be playing. Tons of fun in the demo, and I'm looking forward to really consuming the rest of the game because it's a beautiful game, great voice acting, as every CoatSync game has had, and really polished puzzles that are very creative as well. The second thing I tried was Ghost Giant. Now this one is coming to PSVR. You play, well, a giant ghost, and you're helping little Louie with different tasks. Louie was very upset at the beginning of the demo, as you can see here as well in the trailer footage, and you help Louie along with your giant ghost hands to, become a friend and also help with chores. I helped pull some weeds and find a key to get to the seeds so that he could replant his garden. Very creative game. It is a interactive game similar to Moss, where you're a god basically, but in this case you're a giant ghost. The voice acting again is top notch in this game, and I had a ton of fun exploring the first couple of pieces of Louie's world. This garden that's in the scene right now was one of the scenes that I got to play through. Also at the PlayStation booth, I got to play Trover Saves the Universe by Squanch Games. This was the third time I played the Trover Saves the Universe demo, but this one was definitely a little bit different because at GDC they played the censored version, because indeed there is going to be a mature version and a censored version of the game. Censored version, of course, bleeps out all the swear words. Well, most of them. Anyway, the gameplay was just as smooth as it has been the last few times I played it. There were definitely a few changes that I've seen since the last couple of times I played this game, and I'm still very much so looking forward to Trover Saves the Universe. The other huge announcement from Trover Saves the Universe, Squanch Games has announced that this game is coming to PC VR as well as PSVR. So that's an exciting thing for all of you that have a PC VR headset but don't have a PSVR. You'll also be able to experience being a Cheropian and guiding along a walking purple guy and hopefully saving the universe. Somewhat disappointing news. Even though I kind of put some foot tracking in my mouth in a video that was not meant to be publicly consumed, Valve didn't show up really with anything VR related. They actually focused on Steam and Steam business updates. They did have a panel. In that panel, the only mention of virtual reality was VR support and a long-term growth slide. There was absolutely nothing else related to virtual reality from Valve. If you've heard otherwise, it was probably from a cruel joke that was posted publicly that should not have been. Unfortunately, I was part of that, and I apologize. Unreal Engine had an excellent demo called Chaos that appears to be possibly the seeds of a sequel to Robo Recall. What I found really interesting about this demo is you use the Vive controllers as your guns. The guns are constantly being upgraded and changed, but you didn't have a headset on. So it was all tracked through one Valve Lighthouse 2.0, and you used your two Vive ones like you would normally to control the guns in the game. It was kind of a unique way to play the game, and I'd be interested in seeing other games that aren't VR games harnessing the power of the VR controllers. So whether it be the touch controllers from the Oculus Rift, the Vive wands, other controllers that might be coming in the future. It'd be really cool to see both VR and non-VR applications for those. bHaptics brought their tack suit. I am extremely large, so I don't really fit in the tack suit vest. I just want to give that disclaimer up front. But I did actually try it on, and I played through the Oculus Go demo that they had. I also got caught in the Mixed Reality TV live stream this morning, so if you want to watch Sebastian Ong's channel, you can see very large Eric wearing a tack suit that doesn't really fit. But the haptics in the tack suit worked just fine. And what I really liked was actually the arm recoil when you pulled the trigger and shot something. So that arm sensor really made a difference. What I didn't really care for was there was a little eye tracking, or I'm sorry, face device inside where your eyes go in the headset, and that face kind of pad also triggered and had haptic feedback, and it didn't really do much, and it didn't feel great across my face. Another developer actually walked past as I was doing the demo and mentioned, the placement of the sensor for the bHaptics module that's inside the faceplate of the headset doesn't really fit very well if you also have a Leap Motion or another device that you want to mount to the front of the headset. I know that the bHaptics folks said that there was a way around that, but honestly, I kind of feel like just don't have that faceplate thing. It's not really doing all that much. But the tack suit itself worked very well. Pretty cool vest. Had lots of rumbling in the right places when I was shot, which was kind of cool. This game was just kind of a first-person shooter where you were 1 versus 1 in kind of a simple cartoony graphic-y area, and if I got shot in the back, I felt it in the back in the spot where I got hit. If I got shot anywhere in the chest, I felt it there. So pretty accurate, pretty cool device. Not something I think I'm interested in owning in the near future. I also got to check out the Pico G2 and G2 4K. The G2 4K is really kind of just a personal cinema player, but unfortunately there's not a lot of 4K content in stereoscopic 3D for VR yet. So I got to see a small clip of 2 bugs crawling on what I think was like a honeycomb or a piece of wood. It was very impressive visually, but not really a system seller for me. But the headset definitely is as advertised. It definitely has a very, very clear 4K picture. Didn't really see any screen door effect or things of that nature, so could be something for those of you that like to consume media in a headset. It is a standalone headset, and it's going to be coming out sometime in the next few weeks from what I understand. The standard Pico G2 has a pass-through camera, and I played Merry Snowballs for a few minutes on it. I felt like it worked just as good as the Oculus Go, and in some cases slightly better than my Vive Focus, which is strange because the Vive Focus has actual 6-DoF tracking, but even with just the standard 3-DoF tracking mechanisms, the Pico G2 was very smooth. It does also support ViveWave, so ViveWave content that's available on Viveport would be available for the Pico G2 and the G2 4K as well. Another cool thing I got to check out was called Deer VR, and this is set up with a Steinberg Nuendo digital audio workstation. And what it does is it actually allows you to control spatial audio and hear that audio within VR. It was pretty revolutionary, to be perfectly honest with you. It's not something that I had expected to see on the show floor at GDC, but it can absolutely help both game developers, sound designers, and even people making 360 videos to control that spatial audio throughout the product that they're trying to develop. I also got to try the Vive Focus Plus. I played Vertigo Games' Sky World Kingdom Brawl, and it was set up for a two-player experience where one player played in the Vive Pro, one player played in the Vive Focus Plus. Unfortunately, when I got to try it, there was no other second player, so I played just against AI in the Focus Plus. One of the things that I can certainly say after using the Focus Plus and the Quest in the same day, I absolutely love the Quest. I think the tracking is spot on. There's not any noticeable jitter or things of that nature. Whereas with the Focus Plus, anytime I moved the controllers or looked down at my hands were shaking. It was very, very jittery. I can't say I lost tracking in places where I would think I would lose tracking, but it's also a game where you have cards in your hand and you're just trying to select the cards and put them on, pull them with the other hand. So it's not something where you really have your hands behind you or to your sides or things of that nature very often. I did try pulling my hands away, and definitely my hands disappeared after I moved a certain distance away from the headset. That's not the kind of thing that I've encountered thus far with the Oculus Quest, but honestly, I'm rather disappointed in the Focus Plus. It could have been something great. The original Vive Focus, if it had shipped with 6-DoF controllers at the time that it was made, instead of just being a 6-DoF headset with a laser pointer style 3-DoF controller, could have been a really good headset. Unfortunately, neither of those things happened, and I have to say this is a product I would absolutely pass on. I also got to see in a very small meeting, and I want to thank both Sebastian and Thomas, two of the best German VR figureheads actually at this point, for inviting me to meet with Kevin Henderson with them, who's from Pimax USA. And Kevin brought the Pimax Ruggedized Edition, or Pimax RE prototype with him. So I got to check it out. It's a very cool headset, actually. It's blue with kind of a rose gold accent to it. And unfortunately, we didn't get to play any content in it, but we got to hear a lot about the ruggedized features. So, for example, the coating on the outside of the headset plastic is all scratch proof. It can withstand a drop of 4 feet onto concrete. It's got internals that kind of have like shock absorbers and different pieces in it. So the way that the internal components are housed, it can take that vibration of a jolt or a hit onto the ground or a wall, which I've seen several headsets go into walls, unfortunately, also this week. It's going to have a face pad that is made of a material that will be non-absorbent, so it's not going to absorb sweat. It's also not going to absorb any type of bacteria from your face or things of that nature. And it seems very well and smartly designed. Pimax has been iterating their product since before their Kickstarter launched. And I'm hopeful that, as they keep making these new iterations, they're going to come up with a product that's both compelling for a general user and for the enthusiasts that have already backed it and already have faith in it. Also wanted to mention that Kevin announced what the price range for these headsets would be. It will come in 3 different varieties. The Pimax 5K Plus RE is going to retail for $1,299. The Pimax 8K RE is going to retail for $1,499. And the Pimax OLED RE is going to retail for $1,599. So some quick bites out of GDC from just wandering the show floor. Optitrack had probably the most expensive Jenga set in the world. They had tracking gloves. They had headsets that were tracked in the same VR space as the real space of the Jenga blocks, and each of the Jenga blocks had OptiTrack sensors on them as well. You can also see in the picture their striker rifle, which is available for both the OptiTrack system and to use with the Vive tracker. But it's pretty expensive, but it is probably one of the best rifle controllers that you can get for virtual reality. Tobii brought their eye tracking solution on a Vive headset, which is curious because Tobii's eye tracking solution is actually internal to the headset. There's another company called, I believe it's 7invenzen, that has eye tracking inserts that can go into a headset, but Tobii's eye tracking is actually behind the lenses, internal to the headset. So I'm curious how they have that set up in a Vive, unless they just took the Vive apart literally and put their eye tracking solution in there. It would be cool if Tobii had a competing eye tracking solution that was an insert to the headset. I got to play a game called Salamander, which is a student project that's going to be coming and shipping this summer on Steam. I got to make an empanada and fry it up and serve it to someone. That's pretty cool. I like empanadas. Unfortunately, you cannot eat the food that you cook in VR. Also, at the Korea Pavilion, which is where I tried the B-Haptics tack suit, there was a company called Reality Magic, with a Q at the end, and they had several games on Windows Mixed Reality, including Infinite Fire, Special Force VR, and Super Pong 2. Wonder what Super Pong 1 was like. Vicon brought their Origin tracking solution, which is something I've actually used in a retail environment at Dreamscape Immersive. It's a very good tracking solution. You can put sensors on the backpack, sensors on your headset, sensors on your hands and feet, and it's all tracked very well in virtual reality. And then there was the VR Play area. Now, in previous years, Valve has opened up a booth with VR games from some of their most qualified and best developers. This year, HTC and the Vive team, and Viveport as well, sponsored a VR Play area with some of these titles like Thunderballs by Megafauna, and Cougar Game had a game as well. I like this shot because the guy's just bending out of the booth there to get its prey. Setup had Spuds Unleashed, Shell Games had I Expect You to Die, Harmonix brought Audica, and Tribe XR brought their DJ School. You can also see Sebastian Ong there, capturing the footage for his live stream that I was captured in, kind of embarrassingly, earlier in the day as well. Nordic Track brought their Vive Focus powered VR bike, which is pretty awesome. It's got all these different routes and games and other things in it to help inspire you to get fit, and you know, that's a pretty awesome thing to use virtual reality for. And finally, in addition to spending my day with Sebastian and Thomas, whose channels I will link to in the description of this video, at the end of GDC each year, just like the shirt that I'm wearing right now, I increase my wardrobe for the spring at the GDC store. I purchased these 4 shirts and a jacket, spent a reasonable amount on all of them because they heavily discount things that say 19 on them because they're not going to be able to sell them at GDC 2020. Once again, hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a great GDC. I had a lot of really good experiences. I met a lot of awesome people, both in the VR industry and outside, and I learned a lot. I'm really excited to be continuing forward with Forever, and hopefully I'll continue to have enough news to build these episodes, but I'm probably going to pause for the next few days so I can prepare for PAX East, where I'll be at the Facebook Gaming and Oculus booth for a few days, really doing a deep dive into some new Rift S and Quest content. Until next time, please remember that VR isn't dead, it's forever.